So I just kind of lost my shit like a psycho on my my old therapist or my doctor. I don't mean my older. I mean like he's very old. He's fucking ever like for the past year and a half. Every appointment I have with him, which is over the phone because of this whole COVID bullshit. The first thing he always asks me is if I got the vax. No, of course, you know. Oh shit, I have to like this. I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it. Anyway, so of course no, you know, but he doesn't like that answer. Sorry about that. I got it. He doesn't like that answer, so then he'll go into like how X amount of people have died from this variant, or his new thing is the Omicron. Like, and I talk to this guy every month, and it's like, you got the vaccine yet? I'm like, no. Well, you know, so many this 100 people that died from the Omicron. I'm like, fuck. You know, it's like, because I know. I happen to know a lot about this stuff. So it kind of, it makes me crazy when I have to have this conversation with him just to get my stupid prescription for Effexor, which I fucking can't get off of. Which I think is more the problem here. I was hospitalized in 2007. Mental hospital, which is probably a huge surprise. The reason I got put in there, though, was I had a bad psych eval. I didn't have a bad time. I think I just said the wrong things. And you can't really do that at a psychological evaluation. My sister sent me there because, because I was kind of talking about a lot of stuff I talk about here. And the way this works, or the way I figured out how this works, is like I always say, your loved ones, people closest to you, are the ones that are positioned to fuck you the hardest. This is how I believe this works. If you say certain keywords or you say certain phrases, the people around you, through no fault or understanding of their own, have kind of been weaponized in a way to react to certain prompts or words or stimuli. And for my family, they're worried I was becoming agoraphobic, but I wasn't. What would happen is that I had just I spent the previous 10 years with my band, working with my band, and I was doing a lot of drugs, man. You know, as you do sometimes in punk rock bands, unless you're straight edge. And for me, it had a lot to do with my social anxiety. I needed to be social. I was a fucking front man. I had to do shit. So I'd do way too much shit in order to get to that point to be sociable. And then if you're lucky enough to become busy, you have to become sociable a lot more, many more times a week. This all came to a head at one point, and the doctors are like, man, you gotta stop this shit. So I left the band, I cleaned my shit up, and the way I did this really was by just staying home. Because once I got in my car, it was only a couple of phone calls away to get back in the city and, hey, let's go see these guys tonight. I had to leave the band because couldn't do gigs because I knew that would lead to drug use. So throughout all this, my family's watching, like, oh yeah, you left your, oh yeah, well that's where, oh you're home, why are you home all the time? So they started worrying about me, thinking I was developing some kind of agoraphobia. And my sister was like, yeah, I want you to talk to a psychological therapist there, do a psych eval. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I just said the wrong things. And next thing I know, I was being strapped to a stretcher, and well, they have to for insurance purposes, and loaded into an ambulance, and ended up in a mental hospital, which was a really great experience, actually. Yeah, at first it was weird, just being anywhere where, you know, I've never been in jail, so I don't know what the feeling of being somewhere you can't leave. I'm probably one of the only people I know that haven't. But so it was weird at first getting over that experience that, oh, I can't walk out of here if I want to. And ultimately it was a good thing. However, along with that kind of hospitalization comes a lot of medication. Because the whole mental health field, first, it's a bullshit field to begin with. This is all invented stuff to put you on prescriptions. On a spiritual level, what happens is when you go off script, you get a script. And to go back to what's happening when my family heard me mention certain things or certain you stay in the house a lot. Oh, yeah, and you know, I'd be talking about like something that happened, you know, and before I had this whole awakening process I'm going through now in a severe way, I was always into what would be considered, I guess, conspiracy. I hate using that term. It's a CIA term, but I was always kind of up on that shit. I always kind of, you know, so they'd talk about something and I'd be like, yeah, that's bullshit. That's all this guy and that guy and it's real. So they were always kind of worried about that. Now, couple that with the fact that I was staying in my house for long stretches of time. I think this went on for like 6 months, where I just stayed in. I mean, I'd go out locally. I lived alone at the time. I'd go out to, you know, do my errands and stuff, but I would fucking stay in a lot. And they took this as I was having some kind of depression or something. So I went for the psych eval basically just to make things be like, yeah, I'm okay, you know, look, everything's fine. Didn't turn out that way. So anyway, long story short, go into the nut hut, get out of there with 11 prescriptions. Because they can't cure any of this shit. They just want to write a lot of scripts for you. You know, because for a myriad of different reasons. For some doctors, it's because they got like tickets to a show from Seroquel from their sales lady who they think is hot. So they're like, hey, why don't you try Seroquel? They give this to crazy people. Basically, every medication you're going to get on is just a different strength or a different delivery system of a sleep aid. And that's it. And they make you tired. Because success in mental health is when you're sleeping. When you're sleeping and you're not saying anything, that's success. Because, well, he's not talking crazy, right? Yeah, but all he does is sleep, and that's all I did. It's like, yeah, but he's not talking crazy. That's success. At the time, I foolishly wasn't very red-pilled about the whole mental health thing. So I went into it with the attitude of, well, these people know this stuff. They went to school for it, you know. Oh, shit, I'm sorry, guys. This one isn't going to happen. Whatever. I don't need to smoke. I'm just nervous. I'm just not nervous. I'm anxious because I'm fucking just flipping out and shit. But, where was I? Yeah, they know this stuff. And I trusted them. And they fucked me bad. They fucked me bad. Putting me on all this shit, right? That was killing me. It was killing me. I gained all sorts of weight. Because, as I was saying, their success method is to just keep you quiet. And sleeping. So I was sleeping like 16 hours a day. Ballooned up. Weight-wise. I mean, I was unrecognizable. But I thought, shit, these guys know what they're doing. This is what I have to do. And it almost fucking killed me. So, I got a hold of it, finally, and kind of realized what was happening. And it took me a while to realize what was happening, and I should have realized sooner, but, when I was in a system where you see a succession of different doctors. You don't see anyone for too long. I'd get a good therapist. I usually had like a team of doctors. I'd see some who could write prescriptions, and then this clinicians who could only talk to you. And a lot of these guys would just come in with their laptop and they'd be looking stuff up. They'd be fucking going on Wikipedia to find information about stuff. Like, oh, you say you have this happening? Well, maybe this will help you. Like, literally, that's what was going on. A couple good ones here and there, but the good ones would always be cycled out. They'd move on to a different job, whatever the case. So, I guess it would be around 2015. I had pretty much gotten off most of the stuff I was on. And now at this point, I'd still only have one medication I take, and that's Effexor. And the reason is because I can't get off the fucking thing. Before, I'd been on plenty of SSRI type drugs in the past, but not one like this, man. Like, if you miss a dose of this shit, you fucking feel it. You get these weird brain zaps. It sounds like there's static in your head. It's terrible. Pharmaceuticals are black magic, basically. This is alchemy, not alchemy. What is that word for people that make potions? It's fucking black magic. Okay? It lowers your vibrational body, yourself, keeps you in a lower state. It's all sorts of bad. And it's all based on nothing. You can't hook someone up to a machine or like do an x-ray of a leg and see, well, that's broken. They can't do that with mental health. The only two tools they have is observation and patient responses. That's all they have to go on. And I was diagnosed with, quite a few serious things, mental health wise. So because of that, I was put on a bunch of different drugs that I didn't need to be on. Because like today, other than my occasional freakouts, I'm fine, And the more when I finally started to look into things, in fact, I used to have a policy when I'd get on a new drug, because they were always trying new drugs. I was usually on at one point the most I was on was 11, but the smallest amount was usually 6 or 7 different things. And just name them, front line, second line, Risperidol, Seroquel, Prozac for a while, Abilify, Zoloft. They'd change them up all the time. I think it was just dependent on what they were trying to push or who they got Lakers tickets from or whatever. Lakers, fucking from Boston. Lakers don't play there. But it was just seemed to be like completely willy-nilly or whatever they just thought they would try. So many different poisonous things went through my system. I would have been better off if I stayed on all the coke and booze I was on. But anyway, I finally got a hold of that shit. I don't want to drag this out too much, but the bottom line is, the last remaining drug is the Effexor. And I've tried many times to get off it, and what happens is I'll open the capsule, and I've been counting balls, right? I'll count out the balls. That's how slow I got it down to, because that's what everyone online told me. Like, you have to come down so slow, and you're still going to be fucked up by this. I guess it's a notoriously bad drug to be on. But hey, these guys writing this shit, they don't give a fuck. It's not them that have to live with it. It's just, you're just a fucking patient, Do not harm and all that. So, yes, and what'll happen is I'll get a couple weeks into counting balls and downgrading, and I'll just start to have some really bad days where, I'll have like breaks, it will almost be like psychotic breaks. and then I'll just feel like such shit throughout the whole time. I'll have to go back on it. It sucks. It sucks. I can't get off. I talked to a lot of people about it online, and you just have to kind of rough it. And I just never want to start that day. You know what I mean? Like, I'll count down the balls. I'm 20 balls out, and I'll start having bad days or bad whatever, and I'm like, fuck it, I'm just taking a whole one. And then everything will calm down, and I'll feel better. So I'll stay on a few days again, and I'll start to fear taking the balls out again. So I'm like, oh, last time you took 15 balls out, this happened, you know? This is the fucking nightmare I'm trapped in with Effexor. I mean, it's not a big deal. People have a lot of worse things, but it is kind of controlling my brain in a way. And it's SSRIs. They're not making this stuff, this chemical, out of magic. They're taking it from one part of your brain, which leaves a deficit. You know, if only I was as smart as I was. If only I was as smart as I was. That's pretty ironic. Anyway, yeah, so I'm stuck on Effexor. Anyway, that's why I have to see this guy. And this fucking dude, all he wants to talk about every fucking 4 weeks is his goddamn back and why I haven't taken it. Now, he's an old man. I mean, he's very old. He looks like the son of the Grail Knight from the Last Crusade. He's not a young man. Hard to talk to because he can't hear. So I'm always screaming in the phone at him, you know. There's just a lot of issues here. He's not a good guy to have as a doctor. I never know where people are going. They usually want to go where I am. But, so all he wants to talk about is the goddamn backs. The thing is, I know what it is, okay? I know what's in it. I know an autistic amount about that whole situation. Not just the pretend virus that is just a reclassified flu, which used to be called corona all the time until people started looking at old medical journals and saying, hey, wait a minute, this is just a fucking cold. They had to change the name of it to COVID. So now anyway, I know a lot about it. He's a doctor, okay? He's reading these peer-reviewed papers. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole problem with peer review, but basically it's just other members of your gang making sure that you don't say anything that they wouldn't like, because then you'll get kicked out of the gang, you'll lose your piece of paper, and God forbid if you owe them money still to pay for that piece of paper. They got you by the balls. So he's reading all this peer review bullshit, and I usually put up with it fine. You know, I've been putting up with this shit with him for, over a year now. Did you get the vaccine? No. Are you going to get it? No. That's where it should stop. But it doesn't. It goes into, there are 575 people died this afternoon, and there's a new variant coming. And it's like, dude, I know more about this than you. He would never imagine that, though, because doctors think they're some kind of magical wizards. They all do. It's fucking retarded. Even my ex-girlfriend, who's a doctor now, I know I'm smarter than she is. And she tries to play it off sometimes, like, she's like, yeah, whatever. Forget about her. But I have to do this with this dude every time, and it goes on and on. Like, it's about really just 5 minutes of vax talk, but 5 minutes of someone telling you to take something that you know could kill you gets old real fucking fast. It's like, how do you explain that to someone, though? Like, someone who's not in the world we're in or living in the same world? That, yeah, I know more about this than you, Mr. Doctor Man. How do you do that? So I got to sit there biting my tongue every 4 weeks about this shit. And today I just couldn't do it anymore. Because, like, he antagonized me. Like, well, you know, we won't be able to travel if you don't get this thing. And, you know, he's German. He's from Germany. So, you know, when he starts getting on my nerves, I get on his nerves. He was telling me about the mask thing one day. You know, they're gonna he'd get excited with glee when there'd be a new mask mandate when this all kicked off. Like, you know, now you have to wear a mask just to go outside. And I'd be like, yeah, they used to do that in Germany. You know? Maybe we'll get ourselves a nice Fourth Reich going here in Hawaii. And he was not happy about that. I thought it was great. He wasn't so pleased with it. But, yeah, so I go through this with him every fucking month. You know, you get the vaccine? No. Are you going to get it? No. Well, let me read you some statistics. Let me tell you this. Well, you got to worry about the people around you. It's like, I don't know what his deal is. I know they all probably get something out of it if they can get a patient who's unvaxxed to take the fucking science juice. Oh, I've been saying the bad words this whole time. In fact, I was just saying that this might kill me, so I think that might be medical misinformation. It could, though. That's a side effect. I mean, we've seen people that died from it. So today, the thing that got me with him freaking out today was he was like, you know, there are more people that die unvaxxed. Because, what I told him was, hey, I don't want to take it because there's a lot of side effects. You know, and this is like the 100th conversation we've had about it. It's like, yeah, I don't want to take it. There's a lot of side effects. And he's like, well, the side effects are, you know, that happens. I'm like, yeah, but when one of them's death, I don't want to chance it. And then the thing that got me, that made me lose my cool, was he's like, well, you know, there are more people who are unvaccinated that die from it than the vaccinated. Now, first of all, no one should be dying who's vaccinated, right? As far as what they tell us, but then again, people have become so retarded that they've accepted the notion that you can get this vaccine and still have it, still get it, and the most dangerous people are the people that don't have it. This is fucking Twilight Zone level shit that we're living through here. It's like going on 3 years of people pointing at the sky and going, that's red. And I'm going, no, it's blue. And they're like, no, that's red. And I'm like, no, that's blue. Well, if you want to ever eat at this restaurant again, this is red. It's like, it gets on your tits. But I think that's one of the desired effects. You know, it's the destructive nature of this whole thing is that it makes people crazy. It makes people fight. And it causes division. I mean, this is one of the things here. And when you have someone that's got you by the balls, because if he decides for whatever reason, you know, because last time at one point he's like, well, you know, once we start meeting face to face again, you're going to have to be vaccinated if you want to come here. So I'm like, oh, you know, I'll have to figure it out then. But when someone's holding a drug over your head, that when you're run out of it or you try to get off it, I can't explain how horrible it is. Like that's the tough thing to hold over someone's head, you know? So I get a little touchy sometimes, and but that's the point, you know. I can't let that get to me, man, because that sucks. But anyway, yeah, fuck Effexor, fuck my therapist, fuck phony ass flus called something else, and yeah, don't blame the teacher, blame the school. Fuck the schools.